All right. So in real life, what kind of alignment do you guys think you are?
I have opinions on this.
All right, yeah, go
All
nuts.
right, well, you go for it. You start.
I
Get comfortable, Megan. It's going to take a
Here
minute.
we go.
no, I honestly believe that 90% of our culture is what D&D would call lawful good.
Oh, that's very...
If not skew towards lawful neutral, but we don't have very many straight up chaotic people as they would be defined in D&D.
I don't know. I went to high school with some choice folks.
I mean,
Look, I'm going to side with Megan on this one because I think that your alignment shifts over the span of your life.
Oh, heck
oh yes,
yeah. So where are you right now in life?
Where am I right now? I'm lawful good. Like I would fit within that 90%.
Okay.
It's things like we care about how fast we're going on the road. Most of us, we care about stopping at a red light when the red light pops up. Like we are following the rules of the road. We're following the law. Mm-hmm. We're not going out there murdering everybody who annoys us. So we're definitely not evil for the most part. However, there are certain people that might skew that line and be very self-centered with things. And like, I would say the most common alignment is definitely lawful evil. After that is, lawful good. After that is, maybe neutral evil would be one where people don't care but are just self-centered.
Neutral evil isn't self-centered.
We
will argue at this in the rest of the episode.
We're going to argue about this for the rest of the episode for sure.
Oh, Lord.
No, that's a good question. What do you consider yourself? I'm neutral good. I don't give a fuck about your laws. I don't. I follow them because I don't like consequences. And it keeps me from having to do time or pay fines or any of that nonsense. The fact that I can park here and not park there is nonsense. I understand that laws and rules are necessary sometimes. The fact that I am not dead because there are little white lines painted on the road to keep you in your speeding vehicular weapon over there and me in my speeding vehicular weapon over here. And I'm still alive. So rules work. That's good. But I have straight up, I will just not go to work. And I will call in sick if someone needs me. It doesn't matter, and I've done that. I've lost jobs because someone was in a hospital and needed consistent care, and needed someone by their bedside. Mm-hmm. And so I'm just like, you know what? I'm going on short-term disability. Like for what? I need personal time, me time, because that's how I needed to swing it. And then when they were like, okay, well, you need to go talk to a psychiatrist. I'm like, all right, fine. You know what? I need to go do this so I can look at myself in the mirror and make sure that this person over here is okay. So you can either put me on sabbatical or you can take me off the roster and I'll come back later. Or you can just fire me. I don't care. Goodbye. I'm out. I'm not coming in tomorrow.
Yeah.
And I will not be in for the foreseeable future. I like my job. I like you. And if the circumstances were different, I'd be here. But I am needed over there, and so I will be over there.
Yeah.
So fuck your laws, fuck your rules, and I will go do this instead.
Yeah.
So, what?
Amateur hour.
Look at you.
Was that your phone?
It was
my phone.
that chicken noise. I thought that just came out of his throat, but...
Normally, the chicken shit stuff does come out of Dan, but...
Yeah.
No, you're not going to bite it? Okay, fine. Oh, look at him being lawful good over there,
I
you
love
jackass. It. No, what about you?
Weirdly enough, I am the exact opposite side of the spectrum from you.
Yeah.
In real life, I do play closer to like lawful good / neutral good. I'm that person that can't cross the street unless the sign tells me that I can. Like, and I get nervous when I watch other people do it.
Yep,
like,
me
I
too.
can't handle it.
Yeah, you telling me the whole like I will just straight up not go into work if someone like is at a hospital and they need care. I'm like, they're at a hospital. They have care. I'm going to work. Right? Like,
if someone's getting stitches, yeah, sure, that's one thing. If someone is in there because they're having a crisis of some sort,
yeah.
If someone is crying and they won't come out of their bathroom,
yeah.
And the only person they're going to talk to is me, I'm not going to be the person that says, I'm sorry, I have to go to work.
Yeah.
I don't even think about it. Fuck work.
Yeah.
I don't give a shit about not only the hiring or firing process. I don't care about monetary concerns or the fact that I need to pay rent at this point.
Yeah.
You directly in front of me need my help. So,
and I think that is also a bit of our different perspective. Like, I need to work to provide for my entire crew, my entire family, because I've got children and a wife who don't work.
I was really excited that you might have a pirate crew.
you, I mean, you financially support several people as well, but like they're not dependent on it so much.
No, they're more independent than,
Yeah,
than
right.
yours are.
So I mean, there is that. I mean, I work because I have to pay bills. If I could not work, that would be fantastic.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah, but I've also had so many jobs that a job is a job is a job.
Yeah.
And this one is no different than 1,000 other jobs that I've worked, right? So that's where I come from.
Yep.
But you're all about law as opposed to...
Yeah, I don't know. I'm that weird person too. Like, even if I call in sick or even if I have to do something, like I have to go through the proper channels. I can't just sit and do nothing in response to things. Or if I have to be somewhere, I will be there. Like, I try not to flake at the last minute kind of thing. Like, I have to stay true and fight the urge to adjust.
All right, okay, so you're saying, if I hear you correctly, I'm the exact opposite of you. I don't flake at the last minute. Is that...
That's exactly what I'm saying. Yes, absolutely. No, it's just like I just have that moral fight with myself if I have to be in that situation. Like if something like, if I was in the same situation you're speaking to where someone I cared about needed me, but I had an obligation to be at work, I would have about a half an hour moral compass of trying to figure out which one is the one to do. Don't get me wrong, I would go in the direction of helping my friend first, but I would definitely go through the proper channels, like to make sure that my moral compass stays intact in both areas as best as possible, if that makes sense.
Yeah, I get. I'm just unapologetic about it.
Oh yeah, and there's fine.
So like that's.
Hey.
Rules are agreed upon social construct that don't exist in the natural world. So, however, I believe that morality keeps us different from the animals. It's not our laws; it's our moral compass.
Yep.
Therefore,
I agree.
But hey, alignment, moral compasses, and honor, sanity, that kind of stuff is what we're talking about today. So,
yay! Opening credits.
Yay!
Welcome to It's a Mimic with your DMs, Adam, Dan, and
Megan.
All right, welcome to another episode of the It's a Mimic podcast, the roundtable Dungeons and Dragons discussion where you never know what you're going to get. I'm DM Megan. I'm going to say that today because I feel like I can. And with me are Adam and Dan, and today we're actually talking about alignment and honor and sanity and different mechanics that we can use to flesh out our characters in our games.
Yeah, these are the optional mechanics. Some of the optional mechanics that they put forth in the DMG and whatnot. Except for alignment, that one's kind of weird.
Well, all right. Are we going to get into alignment first? I guess.
Well, yeah, I think we should. Alignment, I think, is the bigger, broader topic because I feel like the honor and sanity just kind of ties them together, or ways to use your alignment, shall we say?
Yeah. Look. There are two different kinds of alignment in D&D, and unfortunately, they follow the exact same structure. There's the alignment that players play by, and there's the alignment of the realms. And they're two very different things. Whereas the planes are all locked into what alignment that they represent. Creatures used to be the same way, and they're not quite as locked in as they used to be. I feel like there's a lot more gray area with creatures' perspectives in 5th edition than has been in previous editions.
Oh yeah, for sure. I mean, you look at the things like minotaurs and goblins and hobgoblins and whatnot are now playable classes or playable races rather than just monsters that you fight. Right? They're you could play a lawful good goblin, and that doesn't make people raise an eyebrow. That's just accepted in today's game.
Yeah, one of the things that they used to do is actually punish you for being on the wrong plane with the wrong alignment. If you were lawful good and you were in a neutral evil environment on the wrong plane, you would not be able to cast spells over a certain level. You would not have your perception be as good. You would have disadvantage on, I'm going to use 5th ed terms, but you would have disadvantage on saves. They didn't have saves back then. It was different, but you got real mechanical disadvantages for being in the wrong place, being the wrong person in the wrong place.
Well, even in the character creation process, if you chose an alignment that wasn't in line with certain classes, you can play those classes. You could not play a paladin unless you were lawful good. Hard stop. You could not play a monk unless you were lawful. Hard stop. So you can play a chaotic monk. Now you can play a chaotic monk. No one gives a crap. Play a drunken master, sure. Right? But I don't know. Like, it seems like it was a far stricter thing in the 70s and 80s and has slowly been
Even
getting...
3.5, it was really strict. In 3.5, they had the paladin, and if you didn't want to be lawful good, you could be the anti-paladin, which was lawful evil.
So you had to be on one side of the spectrum or the other. So.
Yeah.
But to break it down to more simple terms for those listening who have no idea what alignment is, essentially what we're talking about right now is that alignment is basically what broadly kind of describes your moral compass of your character or the moral compass of your NPCs that you're building for your campaigns. And it kind of is defined by two things, usually the morality of the character as well as how they feel towards society. So those are kind of the two main factors that play into that. And it either leans into the good, the neutral, or the evil. And then there are the three categories in each of those pieces, right? And I'm not going to lie to you, it took me a long time to understand that aspect. I actually looked at it when I was first playing out in D&D. I looked at it as it was a spectrum. You were lawful good all the way down to chaotic evil. And then each one just got progressively worse. I didn't understand at the time that there was a difference between you were good, you were neutral, and you were evil, and then you were a spectrum of one of those three.
Yeah, you were lawful, you were neutral, or you're chaotic.
Or you're chaotic, right? Yeah. Took me a long time to understand that concept. And I don't know why. It just did.
No, I get it, because like I was always a fan of rolling a lawful good character who was a straight up murder hobo and would like kick indoors and stuff, and like playing... my character's alignment on the table was different from the alignment on the sheet.
Most people played like that.
Right.
Because the alignment on the sheet was so limiting. It handcuffed you as a player for many editions of this.
And it was a for better or worse, a way for other players to police the actions of other players around the table. Like, I can't count the amount of times I've been sitting at a table and someone rolls their eyes and goes, well, that wasn't very lawful good of you. It's like...
Yeah, and it also... See, I see it for worse, because I sat around the table with people that would go... Everyone at the table rolled up chaotic neutral characters so they could just steal from each other.
Yeah.
It's what my character would do.
Oh, I hate that.
That is the worst defense for anything. But in theory, that's a really good way of running your campaign. You're role-playing, you're acting, it is what your character would do.
Yep.
But when you're using it to justify your shitty actions after the fact, then you may just be a shitty person.
Yeah.
Yep.
So
yeah, it's not a good defense mechanism, even though I say that term all the time. It's what she would do, so I'm just doing it.
Yeah, but there's a difference between doing what she would do and it making sense. Like we've built a relationship amongst our characters where we kind of understand that. These are people like straight off the bat would come out and, you know, the first treasure chest, you could see the rogue's over there stealing everything from the party, takes 1,000 gold out of it and gives everybody their cut of 20.
Yeah.
Right? Like, everyone around the table heard that you got 1,000 gold, Steven. What the hell are you doing?
Right.
Yes, Steven, you fuck.
I would like to pose a question that maybe we can roll on.
Sure.
So, since we were talking about alignments, and this is going to be a heated conversation because I thought about it on verbatim and a lot.
It's not going to be a heated conversation.
It's going to be great.
Have you ever sat in a room with Adam or me?
It's true. Thinking of any alignment that we have and all the options here, where would you place superheroes and why?
Well, that really depends on your superhero.
Yeah, which superhero
Can you be
we're talking?
really specific?
Can be any superhero. So if you guys want to pick a superhero, we'll go from there.
The most controversial one on the internet is Batman.
And that's what I'm saying.
How is that controversial?
It's very
Oh,
controversial.
yeah, let's roll for
Okay,
it.
let's
All
go
right,
for it.
here we go.
I got a 5.
Ooh.
Adam got a natural
Adam really
20.
wants to talk about this, so he got a 20.
So what alignment is Batman, Adam?
He's neutral good. And the reason that he is neutral good is the fact that he doesn't care about the laws that are put in place, but he does care about his own personal moral code. It is about being good. He doesn't want people to feel as helpless as he felt. So he does have an idea about what the general population should feel, how they should be treated, how society should be run. And some laws are there and they will help him. And he will determine who is a criminal based on whether or not they're breaking the laws. Oh, that guy assaulted that person over there. He is a criminal. Although I will assault him for retribution, and I'm a vigilante, and I will dole out my own version of justice. He's very hard and fast on his rules about justice, but he's a great big freaking hypocrite about things, right? We don't want to put children in danger the way that I was in danger, but I got Robin. And I will surround myself with children that I've trained up.
Yep.
Right? Batman is he's not chaotic, and he's not evil, but some people would definitely say that he is.
I think he's lawful neutral.
Do you? Okay, why? Where did you go?
I'm last in this list, so
I'll just choose a random one as well, just based on what you're saying.
Yeah. Chaotic evil.
Chaotic good.
Okay.
Because I'm just thinking he acts from his own conscience, right? It is his moral code that guides him to be doing what he's supposed to be doing, with little regard for the law, right? Like,
he's Robin Hood.
Yeah.
Like you could say that he's Robin Hood,
basically.
except that we have seen so much in the comics and in the cartoons and stuff as well. We've seen enough of what happens if Batman gets his way and the like city-state lockdown that Gotham becomes when he's got drones and cameras and robotic sentinels in the alleys. Right?
It's stuff like that would make me say he's lawful neutral. Like, he's got his own personal code. I don't know, like a monk who doesn't necessarily need to be good or evil, but they follow that code to a T. They don't get that, and lawful doesn't necessarily mean the laws of the land. So he could break into a person's house to catch a criminal and have no problem with that as long as he's catching that criminal because it follows his code. I would say that Batman is definitely not good because he is not. He's got his no killing rule, which would lead you to believe that he's good, but he is destroying people's lives with, lifetime lasting injuries.
The greater good.
Yeah. He's doing it because
for the greater good.
I put the greater good in quotations like 9 times in my notes for this.
Yeah,
greater good.
The greater good. I love that movie so much. No, I would say he follows his rules. He is not he is unfazed by he will do what he needs to do short of killing somebody. His line is killing somebody. He will do anything above that line. Anything above that line. He will maim you. He will incapacitate you for life. He will paralyze you. But he won't kill you.
Only if you push him that far.
That doesn't matter. That still fits him within the lawful neutral.
The number of times if he's grabbed street punks and been like, hey, you know what? You're 14 years old. You need to stop doing this. This is your warning. He's not out there just breaking their neck right off the bat. And even organized crime, he pops in, appears behind them in the study and warns them first, right? And then it is your choice. Here's the line, and I'm saying do not cross it. If you choose to cross it, here are the consequences.
Yeah, and I would put that at lawful neutral. His line is established by his code. He lives by his code.
But he only does that to criminals. He doesn't make.
I would disagree because he applies that code to the Robins and the Dick Graysons of the world, which is the big issue that Dick Grayson had with him, which is why Dick Grayson left, right? Is his uncompromising BS. Batman's uncompromising BS. The fact that you said, he would gladly put up drones and stuff like that and have a full martial law city lockdown. That's lawful neutral.
People safe.
Yeah, to keep people safe by making them have no choice or no opportunity for freedom. He's lawful neutral, not lawful good. He's not neutral good, and he's not chaotic.
So hold on. So your argument, okay. All right, let me get this straight. Your argument is that even though it's all for the greater good, and he only fights criminals and he protects those that are weaker than him, and he has really strict morals about the concept of what is good and how to uphold it, he's neutral?
If you put it in that way, it sounds like he should be put towards good, but his methods are not good.
So you believe that the ends do not justify the means?
Yes. And so far as this whole Batman discussion, yes.
This has been my favorite 5 minutes of my life. I completely, railroaded the process of today's podcast, but I'm very glad that I asked that question.
Now, I will concede, you, Adam, are far better,
You can just stop it far better. I'm okay.
No.
Yeah,
You are a Batman aficionado. You collected his comics for years. You've read far more of his comic book run than I ever have. I'm running off of more the popular media perception of Batman. I was never a big fan of Batman, and part of it is because the uncompromising edgelord that he is. I can never get into it. So I'll concede on to you on this one because of that reason. I mean, I can't buy him as neutral good. I just can't. He
doesn't care about if he's breaking a law or not. When you look at a D&D player,
but he follows his law, like his code, to the letter and will not deviate from it.
But so does everybody. Everybody follows their own moral compass.
That's no, not. There's a difference between following a code and following a moral compass. He follows a code. It's not his conscience that set that up. It is 100%. It is not based off of the whims of his conscience in the moment. It is his conscience that set it up and set the guidelines, and he follows those guidelines to a T. If, like you said earlier in the cold open, our alignments kind of shift in our life, Batman's code never does. His alignment might, because someone pushes him too far to do something evil.
Right. No. Listen, his code doesn't shift because he had to put up boundaries, because the whole point of him being the Dark Knight is he is the one that has to live in the gray area. Did you even see the second movie? He has to be the perceived bad guy so that other people can live safe from fear and tyranny. He puts himself in that gray area where I will have to fight that guy over there, that crazy supervillain, so that a police sniper doesn't have to take him down and live with that on his conscience. I have the skills to be able to take him down without murder, and other people don't, so I will be the one to do this, and that is his responsibility. So he sets a hard and fast line that he will not cross, but so that he can live in the gray area, and he has a true north to point to.
True,
but he still goes based on his conscience.
He has even said multiple times that code is also keeping him just above that line. Like that code is also not just his anchor, but also his lifeline. It is both. His code keeps him from,
because he has to live in the gray area.
Yeah, he has to live in the gray area, which is neutral, which is why he's lawful neutral. He follows his code, and he's neutral because of immorality.
Neutral good.
He will break a face. He will ruin a criminal's life if they cross his code.
No, if they cross the code of good or evil. If they stray into evil, then he says, I will use any means except one at my fingertips. So it doesn't matter if I'm using the law. It doesn't matter if I use fear, like chaos, in order to be able to correct the wrongs and punish you for being evil. And so he says he is neutral good, because he says you cannot cross the line between neutral and evil. And the only line there is do not kill.
I'm going to rein this in.
Yeah, no, this is a can of worms and you've opened.
That was very joyful. I enjoyed it a lot. But let's start talking about it in terms of D&D at this point. So thinking about how it kind of affects your gameplay on a regular basis, we can probably roll on this one as well. Maybe some do's and don'ts you guys might have around either DMing, utilizing alignments, or just playing as a character.
Okay, cool. What'd I get? You got a 5.
Okay.
Ah!
Good. I get to sit here and look at Dan and tell him why he's wrong in my brain.
As long as it's in your brain and not out of your mouth.
At each other. I did get a 17.
Yeah, you
so
got to go first.
So when I think about how alignment affects gameplay as a player, something that I like to focus in on, especially if I'm trying to play something that is one side of the spectrum or the other, I kind of develop my own little code for my character. So let's say I am playing a lawful good paladin, and I'm being put into situations where obviously you're going to have to hurt and kill things. Similar to your ideas on Batman, you just have to draw yourself a hard line.
Yeah.
Right? So usually if I'm playing a character that's one side of that spectrum, I will try and say that I have to have 3 things have to check off before I hurt or kill someone. So I have to attempt to talk to them first, or I have to see if they are going to hurt me, or I will not attack unless attacked first, or just I'll set myself a bunch of rules to stop myself from becoming a murder hobo. Right?
Yeah. No, I really liked how that played out, because I don't know if we've mentioned in the podcast, but we had a situation where your lawful good paladin was told to rip the black dragon wings off of one of our other party members who played a black dragonborn wizard. And you were just like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. And you were told straight up by a demon prince to do it. And you stared him right in the
Four eyes.
Demogorgon in both sets of eyes, and we're just like, yeah, no, I'm not going to do that. That's not going to happen. And I was like, yay!
Yeah,
that was
yeah.
awesome. You playing the alignment moment.
Yeah, and I think it's very rare that you actually play in alignment too. Like, I find that just because of the way Fifth Ed is developed, that it's very hard to play in alignment just like strong and hard and true, because it is sometimes you're on a spectrum of going from one to the other, making all these moral ambiguous choices over and over again. You could be in a party with a murder hobo and you're trying to play like a good character.
Well, that was the first thing that I ran into in 5th edition. Now, I've played D&D for a very long time, and I was really excited about the idea of not having to be a lawful paladin, a lawful good paladin, right? And by the way, in the player's handbook where it says under alignment, under lawful good, it actually lists, it says, typical behavior of a creature of this alignment. Individuals may vary significantly, but it says gold dragons, paladins, and most dwarves. Paladins are still listed under lawful good. It's just not mechanically enforced anymore. Right? So what do you do with that? As a paladin, what do you do with it? But so I got really excited about maybe skirting it a little bit. I ended up going with a life cleric. I was very excited. Session 1, we sit down, and doesn't the rest of the party just go rob a shopkeeper? And they walked in going, well, we only have a little bit of gold. Shall we just... All right, I'll go distract them. You guys steal it. And I went, oh, okay, I know what this is. I've seen this shit before. This is D&D. I'm going to stand outside and not get involved.
Yeah.
Because if I'm a lawful good character, I have to stop them. Mm-hmm. Right? But is it lawful good to not get involved?
So as I've had a couple opinions on this over the years, because it drives me up the wall when players go in and like you're all a lightly seasoned mixture of good. Like everyone's either lawful good or chaotic good or neutral good. There might be one lawful neutral or chaotic neutral person in that mix, but those are the 5 most common in your average D&D game.
Unless you have a druid who does, I'm true neutral.
Locky is true neutral in the game.
That's because his moralities begin and end with a bottle.
Yes, he has skirted neutral evil several times in this campaign, and I'd say at this point he is neutral evil, but playing lawful good with a party of people who, even though they're lightly seasoned varieties of good, still decide to go in and rob a shopkeeper, maybe even beat them up into submission. Mm-hmm. Like it in our group, it's great because we kind of engineered this safe place for us to be able to like stand up to the other players at the table and in character say, hey, this is a bad idea. You as Cora have done that dozens of times to me as Locky.
I've pretty much just been many moments at the table where I'm like, stop what you're doing.
Yeah, stop, think it through. Oh, it's murdering this guy bad? Okay, sorry.
Think about the consequences of your actions today, please.
But I a lot of parties or groups around the tables might not have that safe place because, I don't know, they're more a tactical game. And if you're playing a tactical-based game and everything's just got to be combat and fighting, and that guy's got the one thing that might make your wizard's saves a little bit harder to overcome, so your party's going to go in there and murder him, and you're the one guy who actually gives a shit about their alignment and speaks into it, you're not causing a safe place. So you need to figure out what your table atmosphere is, and talk to your friends. I mean, we've said this before many times. Talk to your friends around the table and be like, guys, remember, we're good.
Session 0 was great for this.
Yeah.
Right? To bring up the concept of, because maybe you just want to be murder hobos. Maybe you guys all work stressful jobs and you just want to go freaking murder some kobolds, right? Mm-hmm. Maybe you're a bunch of lawyers and all you do is deal with law and order and technicality all day. So all you want to do is sit back and be chaotic, neutral, and just kind of live free and blow off some steam. Go nuts. Go crazy. Maybe you're a bunch of lawyers and you just want to play a good person for a change. You could do that as well. But whatever it is, know your table. Talk about it in session 0.
Exactly.
Sorry, you wanted to talk about tips for people, and Dan and I got super distracted.
That's fine, man. My turn's technically over, so Dan, you're next.
I was going to speak on the whole when you're around a table, this is after session 0, and you are having a conflict of alignment at the table. A conflict of alignment is not a strong enough reason to get in a fight around a table, player to player. It's happened many times in groups that I've been in the past where it's like, well, your character would not do that because your character is this alignment. Motherfucker, I'm playing my character. I will decide what my character does.
Yeah.
If there are alignment repercussions, or if there are other repercussions of those actions, let's just assume I've taken those into consideration and I've determined that the ends justify the means.
Yeah.
In this situation.
Well, do you feel like that might be like a DM choice, though, at the end of the day? That if your character did make a choice that might not necessarily align with what they're doing, could you take that empowerment as a DM to give them that consequence?
I would definitely recommend it, but I would also caution DMs and players alike not to go too far with the repercussions.
Like a punishment.
As a punishment, right?
Yeah.
Like a lot of people... they like the redemption story, but they don't like the thing that leads up to it.
Yeah, well, that's the note that I got repeatedly during this campaign from a lot of people, because I'm running the very dark and very brutal, and every choice you make is a bad choice. There's no right answer here. Just make the least wrong answer you can.
Yeah.
And what I keep hearing over and over and over again is, this is a grind. I want to be a good guy. I want to be a hero. I'm tired of being in the dirt and the muck and the fog and the dreariness. And we are so bloodstained at this point that where do we go from here?
Yeah.
Right? And so the last couple of sessions, you guys have actually had a few wins and you've done the heroic good thing. Mm-hmm. And Dan just seems happier.
Yeah.
Around the table. You just are smiling more than you were before.
I've also changed my real life job recently, which helps that significantly.
Plays a part. But I mean, you as a DM, Dan, sorry, not Dan, Adam. You as a DM
Yikes.
in our game, did a really cool thing where we actually had a whole episode based on the fact that my character went to jail.
Yeah.
And got interrogated because of all of the actions we had done over a year and a half worth of campaign.
So tell me about the dudes you murdered.
Right.
Oh no. Oh.
And
like me as the rogue is sitting there sweating bullets going, what is she saying to the cops?
And again,
shit.
I had to play, I'm a lawful good, technically playing a lawful good paladin who would tell the truth, technically.
Yep.
So,
and the cops were friends.
Yeah.
Right? So it's not like you could just murder them and run away.
No. And my character also would not do that.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I basically just roleplayed it in the sense of, well, I'm not going to lie, but I'm also not going to impose too much of the truth, if that makes sense.
Yep.
So would you consider that lawful good, or would you consider that something different? Because I thought about that after that game, being like, yes, I omitted the truth, not to...
Your big thing, let me answer that for you. You guys were so late in the game, the fate of existence hangs in the balance, and you are getting bogged down with an interrogation.
Yeah.
I see it more as you prioritizing the greater good over the current law.
True.
I am a big fan of thinking that there are lesser grids within each spot on that, 9 alignment grid. Mm-hmm. Right? There's lawful good, and then there's super lawful good, which is, a little bit further up into that corner.
Yeah.
Right? We have played, and this is something I was going to hit on as well with, Adam, you're completely correct with the fact that alignments change around the table, and you could stay lawful good and make different decisions within that lawful good, but you are going to kind of float around. You said earlier, Megan, that you kind of viewed it as a gradient. I think that's still a fantastic way of looking at it.
Yeah.
That you kind of sit randomly on a point within that gradient. You're not just in one of those 9 squares done.
Yeah.
Right? You kind of float around. So in this specific instance where your lawful good paladin is lying to the cops about people that they've murdered, or at least been party to murder, you are sitting in that greater good, like you said, Adam, spot. But we have developed this character in such a way that you lying to the cops wasn't out of character. You're still lawful good, but it wasn't out of character.
True enough.
Right? And I find a lot of veteran players who come from previous editions hold hard and fast to what their alignment is and let that guide their actions. 5th edition is far less stringent.
There is a definition for each one of these, but it's summarized in a single sentence.
Yeah.
And then it gives you a couple of examples. And then it never really touches on alignment again until it talks about the planes. Right?
Yeah.
Are you done, Dan?
Yeah.
All right. We talk about players and alignment all the time. I want to talk to DMs for half a second here, because as a forever DM, alignment's something I think about all the time. The best thing that I've found is that your players, not the characters, the players will have a short attention span and do something they probably shouldn't. They will just see that shiny thing over there, and they will see that it says property of, and tear off that tag and slip it in their bag of holding. That's just going to happen. At some point, there's going to be the neutral society. They're not good, they're not evil, they're neutral, but they're opposed to your players, and the players will kill them to get what they want. There will be a group of people, of bandits. See, I love the morally gray area because the bandits are starving on the side of the road, right? They're attacking you because they're hungry. Did anyone stop and ask, or did you all just put crossbow bolts through their eye sockets?
Talk to your kobolds.
Talk to your kobolds, right?
And your highwaymen.
Yes.
And so when you say don't punish them, I say don't punish them mechanically. Provide opportunities.
Yeah.
Anytime that somebody decides to go counter to their alignment, as a DM, think about that. Because one of the very first things that happened for me was, Dan, you were talking about, my private investigator guy, and he's trying to do the right thing. His daughter wants him to be good, and so on and so forth. And then I dropped a narcotic in front of you, and you went on a trip. You jumped at that ability to do that. And I went, this character, this player is going to jump at the opportunity for pleasures of the flesh, whatever they end up being. So I'm going to keep doing that more and more and more. And in the future, I dropped this goblin prostitute on your character, knowing that this was coming like a long time previously. I set this up because I wanted you to start to struggle with the idea of addiction, to the point where I even put you in the Feywild and said, you don't need your addictions anymore. And you went, well, then what the hell? How do I play this character? And you have been consistently going back to them. You don't need to smoke. But now here you are smoking tobacco again. You don't need to drink, but here you are carrying a flask again. Yeah. And so the chemical addiction, the disease part of it was gone. And it was just habits from there.
Yeah.
And you just leaned right back into it again. And so here's this goblin prostitute there was a whole little subplot there. And then at the last moment you pulled back. I wouldn't have done that if you hadn't gone down that direction. I'm always looking for the consequence from a story perspective. And this goblin prostitute was not it sounds like a punchline, but it wasn't. This was very much a living, breathing character with wants and needs and plot hooks that they were going to give. And they had information about things that you guys wanted at the time and that they kind of accidentally had some ideas about. Just to blow that wide open, the goblin prostitute had a psychic that they would go see to learn their future all the time, which was actually a high-powered diviner, and she could have set up a meeting and all this.
Oh, yeah. So, which we did anyways.
Yeah, you guys wanted to go talk to the diviner, and there we go. That was a plot hook right? So it didn't change the outcome. It changed the journey there. Sure. And there have been things like that. I mean, I broke your sword, Megan, and your father's voice disappeared. Your moral compass disappeared.
Yep.
And I said, what is this gonna be?
Yeah.
What does this mean to your character now? And I've been dropping evil and little opportunities to be the bad guys all the way along. Yep. And you guys have taken it most of the time. Mm-hmm. Not all the time. Sometimes you draw a hard line in the sand, and I go, you know what? Good for you. That's fun. Okay, I know we're not going to push that boundary. You guys straight up won't even be mean to kids.
Yeah.
No.
Period. No. At all. If it's somebody underage, you will do everything in your power to save them. Underage, however, means 13. The moment they turn 14, you don't give a shit anymore.
Yeah, we done. Yeah.
The 12-year-old Kenku child was a little mascot for the group. However, the 14-year-old up-and-coming heroes that wanted to be the next young Avengers, and they just want to be the heroes. You guys left them frozen in stone, aware of the surroundings. Or no, sorry, you left them dead.
Yeah, they were dead.
Yeah.
You left them dead. You had the opportunity to resurrect them and went, They're not useful.
The one that was frozen in stone, we brought back.
Yeah, you brought back...
After extended debate right in front of them.
Yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah, where he could see and hear you. And the only reason you brought him back was because you needed his uncle to not be mad at you.
Yeah.
So you didn't give a shit about the 14-year-old kid. So there was a line. There was a direct line. In 10 years, when Dan's kids are teenagers, we'll see how this plays out
See how it
again.
adjusts,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah. But
Well, I've said multiple times on the podcast that being a parent has flipped a switch in my brain. Like, I used to not, this is going to sound horrible. I used to not give, it didn't hit me too hard when, something bad would happen to a kid on a show. Like, some parent, left a kid in the middle of a park at a show, and that's just, a plot hook for that character. Like, even in...
you use it back and go, oh, yeah, that's a shitty parent.
Yeah, right?
And that's it.
Right? Awesome movie reference right now. Joe Dirt.
Oh, Lord.
Has a part where they leave the kid at, the Grand Canyon and they drive away.
Yeah.
Shannon and I used to watch Joe Dirt often.
That's very strange.
I don't know.
Strange.
We
I don't know.
choice.
I don't know why we enjoy that show so much, but we really do.
People are getting a view into your inner
Yeah.
workings right now.
And we used to just watch it for laughs and stuff. I could barely stomach it now because the parents just leave the kid at the Grand Canyon. What the hell?
Yeah.
And this on a deep level hurts me.
You're not going to like Shazam.
I watched Shazam.
Shazam?
Shazam was not I really like the movie. Again, anytime kids are hurt. Even bullies picking on kids at school. I'm like, nope, do not like.
Yeah.
Well, I think you brought up a good point as well, Adam. Just in our campaign, an example of what can happen to a character is my character did lose her moral compass, lost her sword, and then the
Half a
person
leg.
she cared about the most, got obliterated in front of her face. The next dungeon crawl we did right after that with that character, she made some of the dumbest decisions.
Oh, yeah.
Because she was just in a point I don't give a shit anymore. She
Yeah.
shoved her hand in a sarcophagus. She grabbed swords off of a stone. She destroyed a statue that might have been magical. She just didn't give a shit. To the point where the new character, Asriel, Terry's new character, was like, what the fuck is happening? Who is this person? At that point, it's what are you doing?
Yeah, and you guys had to sit down and you fought it out because you came in as this lawful, good, moral character,
Yeah.
and you were not anymore.
At that point,
Right?
yeah.
And so...
She got it back over time, but there was that dark period where
Yeah.
she did not have it.
This just reinforces the whole, your character's alignments that you choose at the beginning are going to fluctuate.
Yeah.
And don't be so tight-fisted on them.
But the DM should see it fluctuating and know that, and this is my point, know that this is going to be something that is now an opportunity.
Yeah.
If they murder those bandits on the side of the road and they don't know that they were starving peasants because the king is taxing people too much, you just knew that there were bandits there. Now think about why they were bandits, because your players didn't. Mm-hmm. They didn't talk to anybody. They just went in and they murdered everybody. And then maybe you have a couple of kids on the road wandering around crying. They'll come upon them and be like, oh, why are you crying? Even if they don't give a shit. Why are you crying? Oh, our parents got murdered 2 days ago. They said they'd go out to get us food. They were wearing this.
Yeah.
And now your players go, oh, shit. Will they ask the next time?
Yeah.
And if they don't, then maybe you have an assassin from an Assassin's Guild come up and say, hey, you guys are stone cold. Let's see what you can do, right? We've got this mission for you. And draw them down the path of evil, because they obviously want to go that way.
Yeah.
Until all of a sudden they don't want to go that way. They're like, wait a minute, what are we doing? We're not evil. Oh, no, you are. You've done this and this and this. You just you flaunt it in front of them and say, look at all the shit you've done.
Yeah. That's very Elder Scrolls Skyrim.
Yes,
the
very,
first time you murder someone and go to sleep,
Just get
they're approached by the guild, right?
Just get a note. We know.
We know, right? So that being said, we've kind of discussed alignment as it is this more fluid, ambiguous, it's just there to kind of help guide your characters around. So what do you guys think about an alternative alignment chart? We can roll on this one and see if we've got some alternative ideas.
I got a 9.
I got a 7.
I got a 3.
I would be completely okay if alignment just didn't exist.
No, see, I don't agree with you because we need it for the planes. We need to have the devils versus demons and Yugoloth's conversation. Mm-hmm. We have to have where the Modrons come from and angels.
But I don't necessarily think that those are things that require an alignment mechanic to exist. Like having devils fighting demons in an eternal war where the Yugoloths are stuck between them as these for hire mercenaries. You could do that without saying, well, it's because the devils are lawful and the demons are chaotic. You could just say, they are opposing forces in the hells. Go. Right? Your happy hunting ground and your Mount Celestia, like, don't need to be opposed based off law and chaos. Your angels fighting devils, that's just basic morality. It doesn't need to have a mechanic based on it. Right? That's why I'm like, I would be okay for alignment to just kind of go away. They have been slowly removing its importance in the editions as we're going along.
For players, though, not for the planes, man.
For players, and I mean, I get that that's how you define what the planes are now. I don't think they're necessary. Right? Would I change the planes if I removed the alignment? No, I wouldn't. I mean, I'd probably make it a little bit more simple, but even they don't really follow the planes, the alignment things horribly, because there's always there's the chaotic good plane, and then there's the chaotic neutral plane, and then there's 3 minor demi planes in between, right? That are different, that this one's a little bit more chaotic than this one is good, or whatever it is, right? Mm-hmm. There's when you bring in things like demi-planes and high-powerful liches and mages who just randomly create planes as they go, even in the Tomb of Annihilation module, there's demi-planes in there that aren't good, they're not evil, they're just there. They're demi-planes, right? So I don't think they're necessary for the planar system, especially when we also have elemental aspects that are thrown in. And there's the astral plane, which kind of just is in everything. And the river Styx, which is just kind of in most things. And the ethereal and the transitive planes on top of those as well. There's so many freaky deaky bullshit things happening with the planes. I think just applying random mechanical aspects to them is unnecessary. If there's anything I would do that is alignment related now, it would definitely be to have a character's actions just have a little bit more of a consequence than they do. If your party of characters, regardless of what their alignment is, robs a store, they are now criminals. Have the town guard go after them. I don't care if they're heroes.
You just said, though, don't punish them.
No, I'm not saying... I didn't say don't punish them. I'm saying you don't have to have that hard mechanical rule for alignment to punish them. You don't need it there.
He did say that consequences should be there.
Consequences matter.
So story-wise, consequences, mechanic-wise, not.
Yeah, exactly. That's what I'm trying to say.
All right.
But you are next, Adam. So what are your thoughts?
So my thoughts are I disagree 100% on the planes. And it is simply because we don't have anything like that anywhere else. That is definitive D&D planes. Even when it was the world tree, they still all had an alignment attached to them. And we don't need them, but that gives so much flavor. And it gives an idea of where you're heading. Lawful good does not mean stupid. And a lot of people play it that way. A lot of people play,
Look, I hate lawful stupid. If you're playing lawful stupid, fix yourself. But unless you're playing a lawful character who's got 6 int.
But having the lawful good, like the angels come from Mount Celestia and they come down and they say, hey, look, here are the rules. And they just give hard and fast good rules. And here's a good rule. No longer eat meat. Everyone is going to be a vegetarian because we will no longer hurt any living creature with a heartbeat. Well, that's all well and good until you have the carnivorous races, right? What does that mean? Does that mean that every lizard folk is evil? Every minotaur? Like, where are we drawing the line on this, right? Yeah. And your party will have to draw that line, and now that's a conflict, right? Having those alignments in existence is really, really, really fun because it allows you to say, I agree or I disagree with this imposed morality by this creature, right? What, Dan?
Are minotaurs carnivorous? They're like big cow things.
They eat the flesh of people. They very much are carnivore. They eat the flesh of people.
Minotaurs?
Yes.
Bum, bum, bum.
Thanks.
You're welcome.
So, and as far as players go, I would say this: don't look at it as good, neutral, evil. If you want a better way to think about it as charitable, neutral, self-serving, not selfish, but my needs are more important than others. And then when you think of order, neutrality, and chaos, think about, is there a system in place that I respect? It doesn't have to be rules. It can be a moral guideline. But is there a system here that I respect? Yeah. For example, the etiquette at a bar, right? Where you just don't, you don't smash the mug and say, another beer, right? That's just bad etiquette.
Regrettably.
But, well, that makes you more on the chaotic side of things, yeah. Right? Is there an etiquette that you want to follow? So, you can think about it, rigidity versus freedom. Do you require the concept of safety, or are you more outgoing? The idea of a lawful person with wanderlust is a little strange to me. You have to have a little bit of chaos inside you to say, I want to go over to those distant lands I know nothing about, go check it out. Especially in a D&D world where that's going to take you months of travel to get there. Mm-hmm. Right? In today's world, you can just hop on a plane, go visit for a week, and come home. It was a whole hell of a lot different 500 years ago when, I'm going to go over to the new world and I guess eke out my existence because I can't afford to come back. So, right? Like there are different rules there. And also think about what is the current established status quo, right? Would you say that the American Revolution was lawful or chaotic?
Oh, chaotic, 100%.
But, hey, they were arguing taxation without representation is wrong. These are the rules, and you guys are going against it. Uphold your own rules, and we will fight you about it. I could make an argument either way on that.
Yeah, you really could. Yeah.
Right? So think about rebellions and revolutions, and what are the rules of the people versus the rules of the upper class, the bourgeoisie. So.
And you and I have also, on the other spectrum of things, on the good to evil.
Oh, you and I are on another spectrum, bud.
We had
subject.
Right.
We've disagreed and agreed at different points in time about the good and evil line being like I've said it was sanctity of life at one point. That was kind of the defining factor of it, and you hard disagreed to that. At the time, like what would you put as like the defining thing to the good evil spectrum? Like, is it sanctity of life? Is it
it's
perseverance
it's charity versus self-centered? That's it.
Well, self-serving, you were saying.
Yeah, self-serving. Yeah. So, and it's as long as if it's about me and my safety and what I want, then that skews evil. What I want is more important than what you want. That skews evil. But again, we're talking priorities, right? Is it a good thing if there is, 1 pound of bread, everyone is starving, you divvy it up equally? Is that good or evil? If you hoard it for yourself, is that good or evil? If you are the chosen one and they are all criminals, is it good or evil if you keep it to yourself? Right? And there's real morality here. There's at what point do you kill to save your children's lives? Mm-hmm. These are hard questions to ask. So it's the idea of good and evil is complicated. I think a good dungeon master knows the table, knows what they want to deal with, what bullshit they want to deal with on a week-to-week basis, and plays in the gray area that they're willing to play in. You don't want to consistently challenge every week. You don't want to sit down and have Sophie's Choice.
No.
Every week. That's a bad time.
No.
Week after week after week, no thank you. But, man, is every goblin evil? Talk to your kobolds.
Talk to your kobolds.
Right? Is murder evil? Yes. Is murdering a member of an evil race evil? Maybe. Is murdering a member of an evil cult evil? maybe? Is murdering an evil god evil? I don't know. Where are we on this spec? So, like, there's qualifiers there because conditions. You as a dungeon master have to keep your mind open. That's
Well, and this goes back to us, as a DM, just being aware and attentive, because not only do you have to kind of balance that, and we would encourage you as DMs to definitely play on that for sure. But you mentioned earlier, like, this one campaign that we're running right now is hard because we've just constantly been making the wrong decision, and you've thrown this alignment dilemma in fairly consistently throughout the campaign, right? Like, the theme of this campaign is moral ambiguity. And I'm not saying it's a bad campaign at all. We've been thoroughly enjoying it, but it was definitely something we originally intended to last 6 months and has lasted 2 years.
I guess the question is, there's a big difference. Here's this will summarize it up. There's a big difference between which of these are the two greater of these two options are the greater good, and which of these two options are the lesser evil. That may sound like the same thing at first, but it's a very different question when you're making people ask it over and over and over again. Am I the bad guy? Because sometimes the answer will be yes.
Yep.
And as a DM, follow those plot lines, but know when to let them go too, right? Megan, you've listened to us babble here for a while.
Well, at the end of the day, like when it comes to being a player, I like the fact that the alignment chart gives you the ability to kind of make a choice of what direction you want to push your character to start. And then wherever your choices you make throughout that kind of alter that. However, I do find that it's too complicated for what it is. Like, to your point, simplify it to are you charitable or are you self-serving?
Yep.
Right? So I just said, like, just minimize it to good, evil, neutral. And then your character floats with their decisions based on I'm going in the good direction, but my choices might be bad choices to get there. Why try and label it with a title when any choice you make in the game could be literally any alignment, no matter how you look at it?
Yep.
So that was my thought was just to simplify it in some way, shape, or form of just being good. But I like the words that you used, charitable or self-serving, right?
Yeah.
I did also say that I would like to see a chart eventually of different eating habits, because I think that would be hilarious. Because having like, I'm vegan, which means I make these choices, or
Look, we said we don't like lawful stupid, Megan.
I know.
Oh, bring me the hatred. My name is Terry. Come get me.
I don't know. I just
send noobs D&D.
I just feel the chart is too complicated for what it's just trying to represent. It's supposed to help you build a character. It's supposed to help you make the choices you want to make, but really it's making it more difficult because you're trying to figure out if it
burdensome sometimes.
Right? Because you're trying to figure out, which of these 9 boxes does it fit in, when really it just fits into one of 3 at the end of the day. And it's just a matter of, to your point of talking just the spectrum of it. Like, I am a good character, but I may make shitty choices to get where I'm at. Why do I have to put that into another box?
Well, what's interesting here is I know that we took it out of classes from like for 5th edition, right? But it's still very much written in the races. They tell you, whether or not it's more elves are chaotic, dwarves are lawful, generally speaking.
Yeah.
And there are racial tendencies towards it, which is very strange.
Yeah.
But I think that that's really helpful when you're deciding what kind of character to make. Not necessarily my elf is lawful, but I come from a lawful society.
Yeah, that's where you grew up, where you were brought up from.
Yeah.
Well, you also when you start bringing in religion to this as well, and like, where on this spectrum does your deity or your patron's alignment compare to your actions? And
well, but my favorite thing is, no matter what, if you have a chaotic, evil god, every cultist is lawful.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like, that's just it. Like,
right?
If you're a chaotic, evil follower of an evil god, you're smearing yourself in peanut butter and having a blood orgy, right?
Oh my God.
You're not actually...
That was very hyper-focused.
I don't want to talk about what I do on Thursday nights, but you're not sitting there for a meeting and pledging, my 5 gold pieces every Wednesday to make sure that,
then you're just in Boy Scouts.
Yeah. Boy Scouts with more sickles. That's just...
Or less sickles? We had a lot of sickles. Were we in a cult?
All right, that's a question for another night. So I feel like we've talked alignment to death. So I feel like we could move on to some of the other finer details of how you can kind of utilize alignment in your game. Let's talk about honor first.
Let's get to a commercial before we do that.
Oh, it's a commercial? Okay, fine.
Hey guys, Dan here with It's a Mimic. We are having another mailbag episode, mailbag number 7, on March 19th. And we are still looking for a couple questions. We will answer anything under the sun. If you've heard the other ones, you know this. You know this well. So hit us at info@itsamimic.com and we'll throw them on the sheets. Thanks, guys.
All right, so let's talk about honor. So this is one of the two main optional character abilities that you can kind of add to your game to kind of add a little bit more depth or flesh it out a little bit. So honor is something you kind of add to a campaign probably if you are in a world that has like rigid codes or I would say things like the Knights of the Round Table, shall we say, or something like that. Just things that have like a harsh code. Or if you're doing a Japanese-based game and you want to follow Bushido, like so you're just going to have people that have like a harsh code that they want to follow. So that's kind of something you would add honor into. Have you guys ever added honor into a game?
I have added reputation, which I feel is kind of part and parcel with honor.
Yeah.
If you read the rules for adding things like honor, sanity to your game in the DMG, it brings in the fact that honor is not just trying to make a decision based on your code, but is also how other people view you as being an honorable or dishonorable person.
Yeah.
I really like the honor mechanic, but I don't see its frequent use.
I think that you're going to use... Should we roll for this?
Yeah.
Might as well.
I had an 18.
I did a 1.
And then Adam's 17 rolled me down to a 4.
I'm happy. I'm happy with that.
So, Adam?
Honor, I feel, is a mechanic suited for a campaign that's roleplay heavy, where you're dealing with the nobility and royalty, or where you are heading into a world tour of all of the different races, the playable races, and you got to go from tabaxi to centaurs to elves, and it's going to be different from one to the next. You probably want to have an honor score so that you have a modifier to be able to play with it, right? So you'll have a better chance with some rolls. I like the examples that they give you in the DMG. Honors for when you're unsure how to act with honor, while you're surrendering while trying to save face, trying to determine another character's honor score, trying to use the proper etiquette in a delicate social situation, using your honorable or dishonorable reputation to influence someone else. These are the checks. And the saves are recognizing when an enemy attempts to trick a character into a breach of honor, resisting the urge to respond to goading or insults, avoiding an accidental breach of honor or etiquette. I like these because that's going to really matter when you walk into the Kuatoa encampment and you end up going, oh, I don't know how, I don't speak the language. I don't speak Bullywug and they don't speak Common. Mm-hmm. How do I get on their good side? Make an honor roll, right? It's not just charisma because your insight's not going to get you all the way there.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Right. So an honor roll feels like a really good idea from there. But it's something that I don't want to deal with as a general rule.
Yeah.
Honor is probably my least favorite of them.
Well, I 100% agree with you on this. And I mean, you read through it and it says if you encounter a monster that doesn't have an honor or a sanity stat, to use charisma for honor and wisdom for sanity.
We'll talk about sanity in a minute.
Right. And we'll talk about sanity in a minute. But like the game even says, here's an optional mechanic for it. But if there's a question and you don't see it present anywhere else, just use the mechanic we have established with a charisma check, right? A lot of this seems to be influencing people and people's opinion of your character. That's what a lot of honor is based out of. And I get it for if you're playing that samurai campaign or you're playing that knights and nobility campaign. I get it for that. I wouldn't use this in any other world, right? I like the idea of a reputation a little bit. But that could just be a thing that is applied to the characters as they progress in the story arc. Your character should start as nobodies and end as the heroes of the kingdoms.
Well, they're going to do that anyway, but I think that you shouldn't have a personal honor chart. You should have a group reputation, like...
Oh, I like that, yeah.
Right? So your group, your party... This is why I always like to name the party, right? Like,
Yeah.
you guys are the Forbidden in our Sunday group.
Yeah.
And it's a lot of fun. And I wanted to get into that with the gang warfare, right? Where I wanted to have a mechanic that was very similar to honor, but it was going to be street cred.
Okay, here's a question, and I'm breaking the order of the dice that we set up, but I just...
the theme of today, though.
Yeah.
So.
I really like the idea of having a group honor chart, or reputation chart, or whatever it is, but does each individual member have a score within that chart? I ask this because when you look at superheroes, which we've talked about in earlier in the episode, well, I'm not bringing it up again. When you look at superhero teams, there's always the far more respected than others. Like, there's your Superman, who's the paragon of, truth and justice. And then there's your Aquaman, that dude screws fish. Okay. And I mean, Aquaman is a great superhero. I love him as a superhero.
Because he screws fish?
No, because he's actually an incredibly intriguing character. But he has a reputation that is lower, mostly because his Atlantean ways don't translate to
Sidebar,
surface.
Aquaman is true neutral.
Oh, Lord. I don't want to even start
Because
that.
he has balanced the scales.
Oh, Lord.
Oh, God. I hate you so
That was the
much.
worst dad joke ever for D&D I've ever heard. You make a meme out of that and you post that. I like it. But yeah, I honestly, like, my feelings tie into this. So can I answer that for you?
Sure.
So I like the idea that you're talking about having an honor score for the team.
You
However,
didn't need my permission. You could just
I
interject.
know. I just feel like I had to ask.
Megan's more lawful good than we are.
I told you. I have to... Honestly, I'm revealing too much about myself. So, because I actually put in here that I like the idea of them having individual honor scores for their specific gang or their specific upbringing. So let's say you do have your lawful good paladin. Of course, they're going to have an honor code with probably the church that they're with or what have you. The rogue, however, even though they're in this group of people, is probably not going to be liked by said church because they probably follow a different code, etc., right? Yeah. So you would almost want to play into your character's strengths of who they have relationships with because that character is going to get you to where you need to go. So let's say you run into an instance where you actually need help from the Thieves Guild or what have you. Your paladin's not going to be the person who has the highest honor to be able to get the Thieves Guild to do what you want to do. The rogue might. So it forces characters who aren't normally front-facing in your campaign for the person who speaks for you, forces them out from underneath that rock, forced to have those charisma checks and conversations because they're the one that has the connection with that group, not your constant lawful paladin.
And you could really bring into the fact that, like, 10 is median.
Yeah.
That is your median score, or 11 is your median score. If you're below 10, you're dishonorable, which means churches, law agencies, those kind of people aren't going to really like you.
Yeah.
Knights, samurai, they're not going to like you. However, your thieves, your bards, your more, let's say, chaotic side of things, people might like you more with a lower honor score than a higher honor score.
Yeah. And like the DM can almost play into that, right? Like let's say you like a lawful good paladin raps on the door, they slide the slidey open eye opener.
Hard no.
And like, I'm not
shut.
talking to you. Slam it shut, right? And then you as a team,
she just opens. You a cop?
you have to tell me you're a cop. But like you as a DM can play into that, right? Slam it shut, and it forces your team to think, okay, well, how are we going to talk to this Thieves Guild? Then you look down at the tiny rogue, like, hey man, like this is you.
Pick the gnome up by the belt and just hold him up to the sliding.
Right? So you kind of almost have to play into the different types of honor codes these characters might have.
Yeah.
All right, so
this discussion makes me want to play with an honor thing.
Yeah.
Or a reputation.
Well, I've played games with honor. Like I've played a few games with honor.
L5R is like that, right?
It is, but you're all in the same honor code. There is nothing like
there's no variance.
There's
Everyone's
no variance.
Bushido.
Everyone is Bushido. Everyone is like it's on that Bushido spectrum. There's nothing else.
All right, hold on. Let me pitch this to you. I haven't thought this through yet, but let me pitch this.
All right.
What if you sat down and created some sort of +1, +2, +3 system for every playable race, every subclass, and every background, and that determines your starting honor score?
This sounds like Pathfinder 2. Pathfinder 2 is like, oh, you're a goblin, you get 8 hit points.
That's weird.
Oh, you're a goblin fighter? Well, add 10 to that 8 hit points.
I'm surprised you don't know this, Adam. You love Pathfinder.
I just fucking hate it.
But that
God,
system exists, and it is my least favorite part about the Pathfinder system. Pathfinder 2 system.
But my point is that
rule there.
that I think that honor needs to be able to go up and down, and your party can have a combined honor.
Yeah.
Right? That you look at, okay, look at us, look at this renown that we have, because we got 2 paladins and a cleric in here, and the rogue and the wizard are just like leeching off their good times, right?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Yeah, rather than having a group score, you add up everyone else's number, you have a group total.
Yeah, and that's why. So I think that there would be things like elves have higher honor than bugbears.
So do you incentivize having a higher honor? Like, if you guys hit a certain... This is my World of Warcraft brain. If you guys hit a certain level of... Like, are you honored? Are you revered? Are you exalted? Like, what level are you sitting in this reputation to gain access to these goods and services, or to gain access to these titles or rewards? Like,
that kind of speaks to, like, even just, like, if you're thinking, like, in the army, like, the higher standing you have, what badge of honor you wear, basically, right?
Yeah.
But putting that on your team.
Would the lawful good paladin who's a private have more or less honor than the lawful good paladin who's a corporal?
All right, okay, so bear with me for just a second, because this is going to be a little counterintuitive.
Oh, Lord.
For just a moment.
Oh.
We already have a system in place for this. For reputation, not necessarily honor, but for reputation, we have a system in place. We all play with milestones for leveling, and I say we continue to do that. Experience says what your reputation is.
Oh. Cool. No, I'm with you. That actually...
You just have to have experience points given to role-play scenarios and exploration scenarios and magic item scenarios, right? Like, so there would be more to it, but if you are the Dragon Slayers, and you have killed, CR-17 beasts, your names are spread among the land.
Yeah.
There's a system that we have done that we're not going to be talking about in any of these actually, but you had the achievement system that we've laid down before in our group.
It was pretty meta though.
Which was severely meta. I'm saying you can have as a DM a list of like achievements for your party, and those achievements translate to different.
So there are tables that do exist already that have been like homebrewed and made. I found a few while I was hunting around that actually have a point system of, if you save the princess, you get +3. If you successfully talk to a diplomat, you get a +2, and it adds to your score. And then there's another table of, if you do this, you get minuses from your honor. Like, it gets into the details that way, but you could almost just as a DM make those choices too.
Yeah, and honestly, I do that with you guys as well.
Yeah.
I mean, I've been watching. There are factions in the world that are aware of what you guys have been up to, whether it's a Coven of Hags or the Liberation Order or whatever it is. They're all sitting around watching you, and every time you step towards evil or chaos, one of them will pop up and go, interesting, here's a plot hook. Yeah. Every time you step towards law or good, oh, okay, would you like to do this? And doors will open or close based on this. But it's loose and it's fun. I don't need a system to be like, shit, they've only got 19 honor between the 4 of them. I really need to be at 21 so we can unlock it feels like it's handcuffing. Yeah. Right? Whereas reputation, I feel, is just something that you should get as you hit different tiers.
Yeah.
You just become great big famous heroes by the end.
Yeah, but I mean, my only problem with using experience as that metric to to quantify reputation. My problem with it is reputation can be negative as well.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. I was thinking more about monster kills.
Yeah, right. Like if you are just playing a series of monster hunters who are, going along the lands, just slowly building up a reputation of, you're the Dragon Slayers, and now you're the Kobold genocidists. Like
genocidists,
whatever. So it brings in a problem where you're like, you're also the assholes who burned down the orphanage.
Yeah,
right. Like, yikes! What you can't use experience to do that. So I would almost say, like,
I have a better system.
It's got to be something the DM controls, because my other issue, you have spell slots, you have Battlemaster dice, Bardic Inspiration, you have all of these little, like, and I've argued this before, and we've had a fight about this before, Adam. You have all of these little mechanical systems to measure on your character. You have key points, whatever it is. Adding another one on that is this fine-tuned, as in, oh, you talk to the princess, add +3. Adding that in is going to add far more paperwork than I think it's worth.
Yeah, that's why I say that the Dungeon Master should track it.
Yeah, it should be the Dungeon Master tracking. Yeah. And the players should care.
They should know. It should be like, you should be posting it. Right?
Yeah.
It should be on the back of the
every
DM
milestone.
screen.
At every milestone, you're like, here's your reputation. Here's where you guys sit right now.
All right, hold on. I got a better one. Okay? I got a better idea. Reputation, honor don't matter at all. I mean, we already know you can use charisma for honor, which is what I would do, right? Like, the prince asks you to, are you good at dancing? And the bard says, oh yeah, shit, I'm great at it. Okay, look, deception check.
Yeah.
Right?
I'm wonderful. Yeah.
To show me performance check. Let's see how good you do this. There are mechanics for it. So, what if honor and reputation is tallied the whole time by the Dungeon Master in secret, and then once the campaign is over or a character dies, you get your final score. And you just keep track with your circle of friends between all the campaigns. Who is the most honorable or least honorable character? Who has the best reputation, and why?
I almost feel like, okay, you know how at the end of our games we do not experience dice, but the inspiration dice.
Yeah.
Instead of inspiration dice, hand out honor points. So to each other as players.
As a spendable resource?
Yeah.
Look, I've played 4th edition. I don't need action points again in my life.
True enough.
True.
But
I mean, if you wanted to do that, that's where you would grab that mechanic from, right?
True enough.
Is the action point. So you get to do this one extra time, or you get advantage on this. It's just easier with inspiration dice because you can add, depending on whether or not it was a big session or a small session, will determine how big the dice are that you get, right?
Yeah. True enough.
I mean, and in the DMG, just above the honor and sanity things, that's hero points, which are these things we're talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So,
interesting.
I don't really have anything else to say, but that I think that it could very likely be a mechanic. I'd be interested in checking it out. I think it's more interesting as a high score that your party should get eventually.
Especially if the intended point of the game is to become
heroes.
Right? If that's your goal.
But I'll just give you titles.
Yeah.
Right? Like, do you want to be captain of a ship? Do you want to be noble, a duke, a count, a countess?
Yeah.
Like,
do you want the peasants to like whisper to each other as you walk by, being like, "Oh, that's the lion."
Yeah, right, exactly. And like, honestly, the bard should already be getting a certain amount of that by level 1 anyway, because you're already heroes. So
it's true.
I don't know. I think it depends on the group that you're playing with, whether or not they would like that. If your group is full of a bunch of people that really give a shit about Xbox Achievement Awards, then you might want to consider this.
Yeah. For sure.
But just as just another stat,
it doesn't fit.
It fits fine. But I'm never going to use it. It's going to come up 3 times in a huge campaign, right?
Yeah.
So, at least my campaigns. A political intrigue campaign where you're sitting in a council meetings, this shit may matter, right?
Yeah.
But not my campaign. We're pulling out swords too often.
Fair enough.
It's true. All right, let's go to a shout out. A shoot out.
A shootout.
A shout out.
So who are 3 skaters on each? No, not a shootout. No, okay.
Stop it.
Hockey jokes.
Sports.
So what we're going Adam is straight up deadpan staring me down. Usually with our shutout, what we're doing is we are plug in Instagram pages that we like and plug in Facebook pages or people in the community that we like. And honestly, we in year 2 of the podcast, we've decided to move on from that in a way to kind of say thank you to all of our listeners who have put in the year of investment into listening to us prattle on endlessly about D&D. So what we have kind of set up is we want you guys, the audience, to send us the shout-outs that we would do in this space, somewhere between the topic 2 and topic 3 of whatever we're covering in any given episode. This could be a happy birthday. This could be a shouting out your D&D group that has done something cool that week, or a DM that is particularly awesome, or whatever it is, whatever you guys want. We want you to send us out an email at info@itsamimic.com, and we will, in our own voices, do your shout out for you.
Also, if you want to give yourself a shout out and you want to just give yourself the accolades because you had a really cool idea, or you're starting a brand new online campaign, or hell, you're one of the donors on our website because we can't see who's giving us donations.
No.
Then drop us a line at info@itsamimic.com as well, because you guys are doing amazing, awesome things, and you are D&D players as well. And just because you are not actively, how many people out there are giving or posting new things to DM's Guild?
Yeah.
Right? And nobody knows about it. Let us know. We'd be happy to pimp your shit. So give us an email, drop us a line, let us know. Don't do it through Instagram or Twitter or whatnot. Hit us up through the email address, so that we can keep it all in one place. And once a week, we will randomly select, we'll roll a die and we will randomly select what shout out we want to do. And I think we're going to start doing that on the very next episode. So
Yeah.
Cool.
And Megan is going to be the person that does it every week.
Oh, okay. Am I intern Megan now? Did I get that job? I'm just kidding. Do I want that job?
No, you're definitely above Coffee Bitch as well. So
Oh yeah.
we can have you be executive assistant, Megan.
Oh, good. I like that.
We can have Brad is going to be mailroom Brad.
I like
no,
that.
he's human resources.
No, he's not. There's nothing human about that guy. He's a lizard person.
Oh Lord, creature resources. There you go. D&D terms, shall we say?
He just sits there in a mascot costume.
It's the forked tongue that sells it.
Yeah.
Oh Lord. Anyhoozle, so let's get into talking about Sanity score.
Any hoozle?
You heard me.
Okay.
We're talking about Sanity here.
Everyone gives me shit for mispronouncing and making up words.
I didn't mispronounce any hoozle.
And making up words.
That wasn't made up. That's normal.
I've heard that many times.
Thank you.
I hate you people.
Yeah. Talking about Sanity. So, Sanity score is something that you would normally traditionally would be implemented into a game if you're doing something horror themed, like a Call of Cthulhu type game, or like a sci-fi aliens unknown game. Or...
Cosmic horror really leans into
Yeah.
it, but even if you're going to do like, hey, you know what? We cut off limbs in this game with our crit table.
Yeah.
You can do sanity on that as well, right?
Right? So someone considered to have like high sanity, be someone's like level-headed, knows what's understanding, like understands how to deal with different circumstances. Low sanity just kind of really means madness, unable to control yourself, like all that kind of stuff, right? So sanity rules kind of dictate the same way honor does. It's a point system that it allows you to do checks. So you have your saves and your checks and things like that you would go through. So if you're going to be doing a sanity check, that'd be something like if you're trying to decipher a piece of text on a written paper, or overcome the lingering effects of madness, comprehending a piece of alien magic, or maybe a magical item that you don't understand, or anything that's foreign, to try and understand it. So you might call for a save if your character runs the risk of like succumbing to the madness. So seeing a creature from a far off realm, or making direct contact with a mind of an alien creature, or being subjected to spells that affect your mental stability. I mean, we in our last campaigns literally stared into the eyes of gods. So we all
Not
had
just
to-
their eyes either. Dan started into the abyss of gods as well.
right? And resisting an effect or conferring, or an attack spell or something that might go against, dealing with mind flayers, like that kind of stuff, right?
Yeah, I feel like if you're getting your brain munched on, there should be a sanity score involved.
I have many opinions about this.
So do we want to just dive into advantages and problems that might happen with having sanity and just roll on who wants to go first on that?
I'm a little concerned because I'm sitting across the table from two people who I have killed in Call of Cthulhu,
It's true.
which has...
To be fair, you only murdered me. Dave murdered Megan.
That's true, but murdered Megan based off sanity score failing.
Yeah.
Fuck you, coffee bitch, Dave.
Yeah, so I'm a little concerned. Let's roll this up. That's
7.
a 10.
I got an 8.
Okay, so what's the question? Do I like sanity score?
Well, we're talking about advantages or potential problems.
Okay, so potential problem is you have a character who plays low sanity and they have no idea how to play an insane person, so they just babble and be kooky and weird and randomly go catatonic. Right? Like,
Perhaps, yeah.
there has to be, in my personal opinion, some DM direction to how this breaks. Not that it breaks.
There are tables. There's a madness table in the DMG.
There is.
There is. So there needs to be some sort of guidance or direction of how that madness plays out, depending on where your sanity score lies. I love having a sanity mechanic. I think it especially when you're dealing with high level campaigns, needs to be an aspect, because everyone is so, ridiculously powerful that this is a thing that kind of brings them down to earth a little bit. It's another way for a DM to attack without just relying straight up on combat, which at level 17, 18, 19, 20, you will find your party is kind of hard to take down. So there needs to be another venue for DM to kind of attack the character sheet.
And at higher level, you've been through some shit.
Right? You should have a sanity score.
Oh man, you know that Mordenkainen has freaking Rasputin eyes, right? Like, he's seen some crazy shit.
Yeah, especially when you consider Strahd and how he plays into Strahd, right? Strayed.
Yeah.
Now, in the previous section, there are rules in the DMG for going mad and rolling on the table, and I really like that effect that's there. But
I don't like the examples.
The effects that are here only last for 1d10 minutes as well. So if you're dropping your sanity score, it should be a little longer turn than that.
There's a lot of tables that are involved in using a sanity score. So why don't we start by describing that then? So how do you end up on the short-term madness table?
It's got to be something that is initially shocking, but your character with some time can kind of get over it. It's like a jump scare in a movie.
It's also when they're gonna, if they take psychic damage, if they take enough psychic damage, if they drop by 50% of their hit points in one go, I would force a sanity roll.
Yeah.
Right? And it's going to be a short-term effect because, holy shit, I need to sit down and rethink my life. Right? What are a couple of the examples, Dan?
You retreat into your mind and become paralyzed. This is basically you going catatonic.
Sure. Yeah. What else?
You go catatonic but are screaming, laughing, and weeping. You become frightened and run away. You become babbling and are thus incapable of casting spells. So
these are momentarily crippling. So I think it should be from momentary effects, right? Whereas you're going to get the longer term ones if you lose a hand.
Mm-hmm.
Right? Something like, because you're going to expect to see that hand for a while anytime you look down, and then it's not there. How often are you going to reach for a cup and knock it with your stump?
Yeah.
Indefinite should be left towards the cosmic horror, mind altering, mind shattering stuff that you will encounter in high level D&D. I don't think there's going to be a lot of indefinite madness generated in a tier 3 or lower campaign.
Oh no, I'll argue with that, and I'll tell you, gibbering mouthers. I think if you get killed by one, if an intellect devourer teleports into your skull and eats your brain, and then is murdered, but it all happens within 10 minutes and you get revivified, I would say that is a long-term madness that you get.
Long-term or indefinite?
Oh, I would even say indefinite. You pierced the veil and you have been brought back.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. I would say long-term for any resurrection, but any sort of violent, mind-altering, you got brought low by psychic damage, by a mind flayer chewing on your squishy bits.
I'm 100% on board with this, only because with things like the Zealot Barbarian class and all of the ways to just stand back up. If you're playing a half-orc, period, you could just stand back up. All of these other ways to kind of subvert death. And that's not even mentioning how easy it is to revivify, resurrect, reincarnate, all of those other things.
I think
there needs to be more of a price, a long-term price for death. It bothers me as a player and a DM that if my important NPC dies and we revivify them, it was a Thursday today. Like, are they just going to go home and be normal?
Oh, death is cheap in D&D.
Death is cheap in D&D.
But we talked about that during the Death of Character episode. We talked about the fact that being as a DM, you could add consequences to having to be revivified and brought back to life. And honestly, the sanity score is the easiest way to do that.
And the best.
Yeah.
Right? Like, I don't like necessarily how the sanity score works in Dungeons and Dragons, how they laid it out in the DMG.
Well, we use it in my campaign, right? We use it on Sundays.
Yeah.
It doesn't come up often, but it does come up occasionally. Sometimes more often for some people than others, Dan.
Yeah.
But
I made poor decisions.
You've made poor decisions, but I really stole it from the Call of Cthulhu.
Yeah.
Right? That is the method that we're using for the most part.
Yeah.
Right. And the Call of Cthulhu system, I think, is brilliant for sanity, and it should be. That's what Call of Cthulhu is built around.
Yeah.
Is cosmic horror and the breaking of one's mind.
Yeah.
So, I love the sanity score. It's far more practical in a game than honor.
You want to go next, Megan?
I can go next.
I mean,
Because
you rolled higher.
Yeah, Oh, did she?
Yeah.
Did I come in last?
Yeah, you came in.
Okay, cool.
So I will.
Did you see the look she just gave me?
Yeah.
Fuck. I'm just going to be under the table over here.
I got promoted today, okay? I've got an attitude. No, I think that one of the main advantages to having a sanity score, but could also be something that could be more difficult, is if you have a group of people that aren't very good at theater of the mind or good at thinking on their feet, a sanity score can be difficult to manage, especially if you as a DM aren't strong in those areas. Like, not to toot your horn at him, but you're very good at the sanity score process in our game because you can literally pick moments from our history of our characters and things that would actually bring our characters fear and give us an image if we fail a sanity check.
Mm-hmm.
Like you give us this
Yeah, I give
mental
you
image.
PTSD flashbacks.
Exactly, right? Which if you aren't a DM who's strong at having that mentally prepped, or maybe even if you were wanting to use it, have some of those background stories and things already almost mentally prepped for when they do fail.
Well,
right?
one of the things that I did, I'm going to jump on this for a second because that wasn't my strong suit, not at first. And when I introduced this mechanic, what I ended up doing was I gave you guys prophecies and visions of things that may happen depending on how the campaign goes. And so when you would fail, you would see the greater objective way that the world works. You would get a glimpse into the divine. Your mind would snap and you would no longer be linear. And you would see things like, Dan, like 40 sessions later, you guys fought a Rakshasa. Your very first image that you got when you failed a sanity save was of a backwards hand holding a scalpel, right? And then we jumped there later because I didn't have anything to pull on yet as a DM. So I dropped a couple of visions and prophecies that we may get to. You guys may alter the tides and we'll never get to explore these. One of my favorite one was the necromancer that was 150 feet tall and smashing through a floating city.
Yes.
That was very much on the table until about 3 sessions ago. And then you guys got rid of it.
Oh, good. Fantastic.
So,
Good to know.
yeah.
I am super intrigued now. I don't remember even this vision.
She got it very, very early in the campaign.
Right at the beginning.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Because I was the first one to actually get a sanity score, I believe, in that campaign.
Yeah, you guys had to earn it too by seeing a
Something
cosmic
happening.
maddening.
Yeah.
Yeah. But that brought me to the other part of it, because sometimes we always talk about how session 0 is when these things can be discussed, and bringing a sanity score into it was something that does sometimes need to be agreed upon.
Yep.
So the way that you introduced it, because we did introduce it about halfway through the campaign, and by halfway I mean like a month or two in, my character ended up rolling up a sanity score. You actually stopped the game and asked the table, is this something you guys would want? Because it was actually, I crit failed on something, rolled the crit fail dice, and that's why I ended up with a sanity score.
Yeah.
And you actually stopped the game and said, we can now decide as a group if sanity is something we want to deal with. And all of us as a group said, heck yeah, throw that down. And we were stoked about it. And now
We've
regret
made
it.
poor decisions.
But you took the time as a DM to make sure that that is a score that we wanted to manage and maintain and deal with, right? And I think that that is very important, that if you are running with a group of people that are easily triggered or talking about the dark and the chaotic, and if you are playing in a lighthearted campaign and suddenly you introduce sanity scores, that's a conversation that does need to happen, I think.
Yeah.
So,
No, I'm completely with you, and we harp on the session 0 talk often. If you are going to bring something in mid campaign, there's no reason why you can't just stop and be like, guys, this is something that would make sense to bring in now. Here's kind of how it. Here's the good. Here's the negative. What do you think?
Yeah.
Right. And this could work for introducing a sanity score. There could be a supplement of a book that comes out in a year or two, and you are now a year or two into a campaign playing characters who you love and adore, and they release some sort of mechanic that would fit your campaign very well. This is the time to step forward and
Bring
say
it
that
in,
as well,
right?
right? So,
Yeah.
like, there's nothing against doing that. And when it comes to specifically like a sanity score, you need to. You can't just drop that on your players.
Yeah.
So you guys have covered pretty much everything that I wanted to say. One of my big regrets with the way that we run sanity scores is that there's no day-to-day mechanical punch to the fact you guys are all sitting way below average sanity scores right now.
I have a 4.
Yeah, you've gone back up to a 4.
I was at a 1 for 3 sessions.
And the idea is that when you hit 0, your mind snaps and you're an NPC.
Yeah.
Right? You can no longer function as a character.
Yeah.
My big issue is that I feel like you should be taking more time for self-care when you start to get into the negatives and more time for it. Your short rest should be 10 minutes longer. If you've got a negative modifier, your long rest should require to be an hour longer. You just need that extra time to bolster yourself to get ready to mentally prepare for the next thing to happen. Mm-hmm. There should be things like, we get into town and what do? Oh, the first thing I'm going to go do is go talk to this guy and make sure that we have this, and we're going to go drop off our weapons and go shopping. Okay, look, pump the brakes on that. Remember what just happened. Your mind snapped down there because the beholder looked into your soul and dropped you to 0 hit points. You went unconscious as you stared into the eye of a beholder. Its teeth, its slavering maw was coming at you, and the next thing you know, you are breathing and the cleric is standing over you. And the next thing you want to do when you're in town is go shopping. Stop and think about this.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And it's a very real kind of campaign when you start thinking about sanity scores. Or you're just playing with the deck of many things. You know what? I'm going to make up my own table. We're going to play with sanity scores. You guys fail, and you go Looney Tunes. Mm-hmm. And play it that way if you want. If it's a comedy campaign, do it. But know your tone, know your feel, make sure that everybody's on board right from the beginning. Because mental health, you're right, can be a triggering thing. But it doesn't have to be, is my point.
No, it doesn't have
so
to be.
Know which way you're leaning into it.
And this is one of the reasons why I was saying earlier that the having some sort of advice from the DM about how this breaks your character. I think this is one of the very few instances I would be okay with a DM telling me how I should play my character. A little bit.
Yeah.
Right? Like,
or coaching him in that direction.
Coaching in a role-playing direction. Because we have done the whole, hey, Dan, you're at 1 sanity. And let's be completely honest, Lockie's mannerisms didn't really change that much at all. I was a little bit more rash with decisions and
But again, that was big picture. That wasn't in the moment this round.
No.
I'm twitching. Mm-hmm. Or there's a tear running down my cheek. And like, how real do you want to get with it?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And that is a big question, right? And I think there are going to be some barbarians that I'm just going to go drink. And now we've just created an alcoholic. And is this fun? Are we having fun?
Yeah.
Is that what we're doing here?
Yeah.
Right? Like, we got to really stop and ask, what does a sanity score mean overall? Is everyone around the table aware of the ramifications of playing with one? Mm-hmm. And you as a DM and as a player need to sit back and say, you know what, this is the tone I'm going for. If it's a big, heavy campaign and someone loses their sanity score and just says, I'm just going to pee myself and I'm going to go smear like shaving cream all over the walls over here and then write the name of my mother and I'm going to pee again. You're in the wrong campaign.
yeah.
Yeah.
I'm not saying you're wrong. I'm saying it's not the right fit for this.
Yeah.
Right? And so that just be aware of what your circumstances are and work with your DM. And the DM has to be aware of this ahead of time.
And this also bringing in a sanity score brings in other problems as well as character retirement. At what point does your character just say, enough of this shit, I'm done, and walk away? Right? It's a lot harder to quantify that with a strength score. It's a lot harder to quantify that with a wisdom score. Sanity, you could quantify that really easy. You hit a 5, your character is broken.
Probably done.
He's done. Right? And that could be a bitter pill to swallow if that happens to a character you love. Right? And based off a couple failed rolls, now you know your character would probably be done and leave.
Yeah.
Right? So You have to have a discussion with how this plays out. And this is why I go have a discussion with your DM, where your DM kind of guides you, but at the same time, you two come to an agreement of where you are going to be sitting as a character because of this.
I also think that you as a DM need to be able to reward sanity back. Mm-hmm. Right? If you are going to have 10 days of downtime with your party and your friends and your beloved NPC and the NPC you fell in love with, and you're going to spend all your time grooming your horse for inner peace and whatnot, maybe you can roll to gain sanity back just from taking a vacation, just from breathing and saying, maybe you say, hey guys, enough is enough. I need a break. We're mid-dungeon, but fuck this. Let's get out of here. And the rest of the players should say, yeah, okay. We will come back. This is a mission we didn't finish.
Yeah.
And maybe we'll come back later because we mapped out the first half of the dungeon. I mean, more goblins will move back in. But we can come finish this later, or maybe it's just something that doesn't get done.
Yeah.
But it's time to head back to the ship, the inn, the camp, whatever.
Yeah, I can't handle this today, basically.
That's it.
That's all you had? All right, you're done. Cool. I mean, throughout this kind of thing, we've been talking about the tweaks and additions and the way we would kind of handle anything. Do you have any final thoughts about anything they would do differently with sanity scores or honor scores?
Or alignment.
Or alignment.
I found the way we kind of discussed were ones that I could do without towards ones that I want to have in every campaign. Like I'm a fan of my more gritty, realistic campaigns. So having a sanity score injects realism because it injects, your mental health into the game.
Yeah.
Right? Which will put you into the mind of your character, which is something we always say to do. If you want to roleplay well, get into your character's head, figure out where they're going. Right? Never use my character just would do this. This is the thing my character would do. Bullshit. But I like sanity score for that reason. I could use honor. Having some sort of reputation system in place would be fun and useful. And I can honestly do without alignment. So it's kind of this weird decrescendo of where my focus is.
Yeah.
If I'm playing a comedy campaign, like just something for fun or something to relax, I'm not putting a sanity score in. Right? It becomes too real at that point. So this is another, have some awareness of where you're at with the table.
It becomes too real until the DM knows that you're playing a comedy thing. Oh, your mind snaps, and the barbarian is now a giant potted daffodil running around with the battle axe. You'd be like, all right, cool, I'm in. We've done full Looney Tunes.
Yeah,
Let's do this shit, right? And sometimes that can work, right?
Yeah.
But I hear what you're saying.
You have to decide whether or not you are willing to go full Looney Tunes or you want this to be like
dark and dreary.
Dark and dreary.
Yeah.
I don't know. I really like alignment for the planes. I like where alignment sits now for characters and creatures. I think that honor can be sometimes appropriate. I would like to see more for group reputation. Mm-hmm. I like sanity under some circumstances. The thing that I want is a divine intervention chart. That's the thing that I'm missing. Get a stat for your own... What's the word I'm looking here? Your connection to a higher being?
Mm-hmm. Your faith?
No, not your faith. Almost the strength of the connection. Not your own faith, because this is going to apply to warlock patrons as well.
Yeah.
Right? Because what I want to do is I want to have a dream chart. You roll percentile dice, 0 to 80, nothing. 81 to 99, you get a dream that's kind of like this. 100
visions. Yeah.
100 is this.
Prophecy.
Right? Yeah, is a prophecy. Or if you roll a 1, you have night terrors for the next week. Right? And like there should be kind of like the dream scale. Connect people to their patrons and their gods more. And to their ancestral guardians, to their whatever their anchor is.
Yeah.
Right? Even if their anchor is their long lost missing daughter. Have dreams about that. But it's going to, every time there's a long rest, every time the party goes down to sleep, you can roll on the dream chart and see what you end up with. Mm-hmm. I would think that's really interesting, and it could be super customizable, campaign to campaign. I don't know all the mechanics on it yet, but I would like to see something like that as a DM to just... And maybe you don't do it all the time. Maybe every time they go down, you roll a d6, and on a 6, you go to the chart.
Yeah.
So it only happens 5 or 6 times in the span of a campaign. Something like that, right?
I would almost apply wisdom to that. Like, that sounds like a wisdom-based thing. Like, your connection to a higher power or your commitment to your cause. Like, these all seem wisdom-based things.
Yeah, but
so like
but look,
you just have a modifier.
But
and
the
you just apply
sorcerer's
the modifier.
bloodline is charisma. The paladin is charisma. The warlock is charisma. So I get it. I hear what you're saying. That makes a lot of sense for wisdom as far as the skills go. But as far as like your power source, it can be wisdom or charisma or intelligence for the wizard. Even you've studied too long and too hard, you're dreaming of math. Yeah, right. So, or the artificer who just like has this. Had a dream of a jumbo jet, right? And doesn't understand how to do it.
I just like the sorcerer's having a really bad day. They dream of math. The artificer's
the wizard.
The wizard and the artificer are having a really good day. Oh, and they dream of math.
Yeah. Yeah.
I love math. I love dreaming of math.
Yeah.
Numbers and things.
It was one of my favorite Futurama jokes of all time. There were ones and zeros everywhere. I dreamt of nothing but ones and zeros. I think I even saw 2.
Thanks, Bender.
So, what are your final thoughts, man?
For me, again, I find alignments just too confusing for what it is to the point where I don't use it in games as often as I probably should. It's just kind of like determining a moral compass.
But you know your character well enough now that you can, like, do you rely on it early in a campaign and then turf it?
To kind of start your process and then you just kind of turf it from there.
Yeah,
so
it's a
good character building tool is what I find alignment to be.
Starting point.
Yes. Yeah. When it comes to honor, I think that honor and sanity are very specific to the style of campaign that you are playing, I find. You wouldn't just throw honor in there for shits and giggles. You throw it in there because you have a Bushido, because you have a Knights of the Round Table, because you have these things in there that are easy to interact with. And I feel like sanity is really implemented in those campaigns that have that, extraterrestrial type style. Yeah. So they're very specific. So it's almost like you do have to, when you're starting a campaign, sit down, think about the type of campaign you're building, and then does it work for the system? Does it work for what you're going for? Does it actually give you a means to an end, or are you just adding something more complicated for no reason? Because I do find that with the honor and sanity, they can get convoluted. It's almost like adding another layer to your game, and you have to kind of determine whether it is necessary or not. Mm-hmm. Like, to your point, do we simplify it? Do we only do it if you every 6th or 7th time do we do it? Like that kind of stuff, right? But otherwise, when it comes to the way they're structured and they work, I feel like I wouldn't really tweak it that much or make too many additions. I feel like they work very well for what they are. You just have to determine whether it's worth your time and energy. Yeah.
Sure. I don't disagree with any of that. I myself would tweak honor to be reputation. Yeah. Right? That's my big...
And I would tweak sanity to be a little bit more Call of Cthulhu-like. Make it a little bit less of ability score and more of a...
but again, 1 to 100 scale. Like those are the specific types of campaigns you guys want to play.
Yeah.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah.
So you're tweaking it for what it is that you want it to do. But I feel like as they are structured right now, they make sense and they work. It's just a matter of depending on what type of campaign you're playing.
Of all of the variant rules in the Dungeon Master's Guide, these are probably my favorites.
Yeah.
There's a lot of shit in there that I'm not a big fan. Look,
hero points.
Yeah. Look, sure. You know what? As far as the variants go, variant human is great. Feats are awesome, and sanity and honor is good. Yeah. Everything else requires a good, long, hard look.
All right, that's it for this week's episode on, oh my god, alignments, sanity, and honor. You can find us on iTunes and Spotify, as well as dozens of other podcast apps. You can also find us at the www.itsamimic.com or email us at info@itsamimic.com. Thanks for listening to the It's a Mimic podcast, and make sure to check us out next week when we're covering
Brass Dragons.
Brass Dragons. That's very exciting.
Finally getting around to the good dragons.
Yeah.
As opposed to those shitty other ones.
So, where do you feel like your guys' morals came from growing up?
Should we roll initiative on this one?
We could.
All right, let's roll initiative.
All right. Source of our morality.
Yeah.
Well, I grew up in the church.
Yeah, you're going first.
So, yeah, I got a 17. So, typical Judeo-Christian moral background. I grew up in the church. I went to Bible college. I still go to church weekly. I'm involved in my church weekly. Like, it's...
Was it a family thing that implemented it to begin with, though, or
So funny enough, my parents and my grandparents, no one in my family, I mean, they were prairie folk from Alberta. So, like, church was part of the culture, but they weren't necessarily, religious people. And when my family moved out here, we were living in a little place, and pastor of a local church, while setting up a vacation Bible school, backed into our carport. And did some damage to our carport. My dad came out to rip this guy a new one, and ended up signing his children up to go to the vacation Bible school.
oh my god,
Yeah.
That is a good pastor. That is someone who knows what they're doing.
Oh, yeah.
That
that's
guy.
a skilled man.
Yeah. And we went to that church for 15 years, something like that.
He purposefully ran into that carport just to find more
Saw children inside, living the heathen lifestyle, and needed to remedy that situation. No, but we did church for years. One of the big connecting factors between my wife and I when we met on World of Warcraft was the fact that we were both Christian and have similar tastes in awkward Christian music and stuff like that. So
You could have just said Christian music. It's all awkward.
not all of it. Some of it's actually pretty damn decent.
I used to be in a Christian rock band, so.
Did you really?
Oh yes.
Oh, that's...
Me too.
Oh, shit. Worlds are colliding. We'll get Brad on. You guys can have a three-piece band.
Oh Lord.
Next on the list was you.
I'd say mine are very from my family. I would assume those are where you get most of your morals and moral compass from, as they tell you what's right and wrong as you're growing up and trying to figure yourself out.
Yep.
I did grow up Christian too, I did. But I ended that in my teens because everybody goes through a goth phase, and I just stayed in mine a little bit longer than anybody else did. But yeah, no, I find that, and then school a lot for me. I had a lot of really good teachers growing up that would really actually cared about what the kids did and where you were at and what you wanted to do with your lives, and they were really invested in you as a person on a regular basis. So I lucked out where I had all that growing up. So I feel
thinking about it going back, my teachers were incredibly influential.
right? Yeah.
And some of my friends that I hung out with, like Adam and his brother, and doing Boy Scouts, I'd say a lot of my morality of what not to do came from Boy Scouts.
Were we all in Scouts?
Yeah.
We were all in Scouts, yes.
Yeah.
I remember this conversation. Yeah.
So, I don't know, my teachers were heavily involved. I've got my 3 favorite teachers that I ever had who were key points in my life for, and helped me out of some really dark places, several steps all the way up. So, yeah, teachers. I'm with you on that one.
There you go.
Adam?
The liberal media.
Of course. Of course.
Dan just got upset. All right, no. Okay, let's see. My background. I was brought up in Sunday school and the church and whatnot as well. However, when we moved out here to Vancouver, I was 6. We couldn't find anything like that. And so it was just my family. My dad probably is the most influential moral compass in my entire life. He's the guy that he found, it's some ridiculous number, like $12,000 or something in an envelope, just discarded on the ground outside of a bank. And he spent some time hunting down the owner of the envelope and giving it back. This elderly man who was this was his rent for months that he had taken out. And that is a second thought. And this is one of many, many, many stories like that. Yeah. So probably my dad, but I don't know. I always grew up watching, I was the perfect age for Ninja Turtles and Batman the Animated Series and Transformers and G.I. Joe and the big freaking uncompromising hero that takes a look at the status quo and says, well, that's not right, and then imposes their will upon it. I was the perfect age for that, and that's where I come from now. I'm always questioning everything, and then when I get a good feeling about it and I think I know what's right, I commit to it 100%. Yeah. So, and I'm really uncompromising about it once I've made up my mind.
Yeah. So. I'd agree with that. And not in a bad way, because usually you've put in the thought and the study and the work before you come to these kind of opinions.
I spent months and months and months as a collection agent before I realized that I just don't agree with collecting for cell phone bills for elderly people, because they were gifted a cell phone at Christmas, never thought about it, never turned it on. Yeah. And then 6 months go by, the bill lapses, and then it goes into collection, and it's getting hit with interest, and now they've got to cancel they get hit with cancellation fees, and the whole thing, and now they owe $2,000, and they're told, pay $60 a month on it. Well, that doesn't even cover the interest.
Yeah.
Right? So you're just leeching money out of this person on a fixed income. I can't live like that. That's bullshit, and I won't do it.
Yeah.
I've quit a number of jobs for moral reasons.
Yeah.
And a number of relationships for moral reasons too, as well. Which I will straight up walk away from people if I think that they're bullshit. So, which I guess says good things about you guys.
I was going to say, I have tricked you guys something foul. Oh, Lord.
So, yeah, I don't know. So probably the media, but I mean, we all come from white first world problems, right? Like, we all have the same basic morality here.
Yeah.
So.
True enough.
Thank you for listening to an It's a Mimic production.
Okay, you're done. Get it.